let's get to your recap. What stood out about the season to you, Caleb Calhoun? We mentioned Arch Manning. I'm curious if he'll be on your list. I thought Arch Manning looked fantastic, but that's the University of Texas San Antonio. The deep ball he had was just, I mean, the deep pass he had, the guy was bare. I mean, wide open. His speed surprised me, but I'd been told that by scouts. And so I guess that shouldn't surprise me. But let's start with Alabama dominates with a caveat in your takeaways.
Yes, the caveat, and I've told you guys, Kalen DeBoer has done a great job at tinkering the offense with Jalen Milroe to have him run more. He had 196 passing yards, 75 rushing yards, 5 total touchdowns, the one true dual threat quarterback that's living up to that name in college football right now. But I still don't know if Jalen Milroe will be able to use his legs like that once SEC play begins and he faces SEC defenses. Wisconsin's slow.
Okay, and what's next, Caleb?
And we're getting to Arch Manning now. I'm going out on a limb. Arch Manning should start for Texas. I don't care that Quinn Ewers is your guy. You go with the better player. Arch Manning is better than Quinn Ewers. And Dave, I'm going to say something that you kind of remember that and that you may like, you would appreciate. But the 91 Cowboys, when Aikman got hurt, Steve Eberle came in, and Dallas decided to start him, even though they knew Aikman was their guy, and try to finish the season with Steve Eberle.
But Berline, yeah, and the thing about that was too, but Jimmy Johnson did not believe in Troy Aikman. That's why he drafted Steve Walsh from Miami in the supplemental draft, and it cost them a first round. It cost them like a second round pick, and then being who Jimmy Johnson was, he ended up managing to trade him for a first round pick. And who the hell's Walsh now? I mean, nobody. So he never did anything. But anyway, that's too much Cowboys history. All right, what's next?
Well, and then one more, and two. Don't forget this: 2012, Jim Harbaugh. Gutsy move, just played for the NFC title, rolling again in 2012, benches Alex Smith for Colin Kaepernick at the beginning, in the middle of the year, because he knows he's got a better shot at the Super Bowl. Sometimes you got to make that gutsy move, and Arch Manning is the better quarterback, so make that gutsy move. So in the next one, Oregon finally looks like Oregon. Don't really have to add too much into that. It's about time they showed up with Dylan Gabriel. They blew out Oregon State. But my number 4 one, the Florida and Florida State disasters continue. Florida State is 0-3. And guys, Billy Napier's done. Rumors swirled last night, Dave, that boosters are already cobbling up money to go ahead and pay that buyout. They want him out now.
And you don't really get a chance nowadays to resurrect things because you want to get a head start. Really, to some extent, Mike Hamilton started this because Colorado was going to hire Lane Kiffin. So that's why he made the move on Philip Fulmer. So he wanted to be ahead of the curve and the hiring curve. And I don't think he makes it the year. What else, Caleb?
Yeah, I agree. And by the way, that burned Tennessee in 2017 when they waited so long to fire Butch Jones when they knew they were going to fire him. Number 5, so the Group of 5 race to the CFP continues. Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame last week, but Memphis beating Florida State and Washington State beating Washington this week. Washington State, Memphis, and Northern Illinois lead the Group of 5 race to make the college football playoff. I think right now Memphis is the favorite, but let's be honest, if Notre Dame wins out and Northern Illinois got that spot locked up, if they win out, right, that's the best win.
Yep. And before we get to your final one, I'm going to remind everyone the UPS store Hardin Valley, owned by a family of former Vols. They're there to help individuals and small businesses by offering a wide range of products and services, locally owned and operated conveniently. 10629 Hardin Valley Road, 10629 Hardin Valley Road. The link is right below. And what's your final takeaway from the weekend, Caleb?
Well, a couple of ones before the Heisman in my top 10. But first, Georgia plays down to Kentucky. We saw that happening. Kansas State and Missouri score quality wins. And Brian Kelly avoids the hot seat barely. We talked about that. You are right. He is not a fit. My Heisman race real quick. I got Cam Ward still leading. Jalen Milroe's number 2. You see Travis Hunter had 100 yards receiving and an interception last week. Sorry, you got to put him in there. He's number 3 as a two-way player. Jackson Dart, number 4. Miller Moss, number 5. Nico's not in there yet. He will be my top 10. These are not power rankings. My top 10 is 1 is Georgia, 2 is Texas, 3 is Bama, 4 is USC, 5 is Tennessee, 6 is Missouri, 7 is Kansas State, 8 is Miami, 9 is Penn State, and 10 is Oklahoma State.
And my list of contenders that I'll tell you about every week, I'm adding Alabama to that mix. based off of a lot of what Caleb said. And I think that there are 6 teams that can win a national championship from what I've seen. And we'll alter that as we go. But I want to say something about Texas. While Arch Manning looked good, Steve Sarkisian's a quarterback coach. He thought Quinn Ewers was better. So I'm going to consider that a negative against Texas until I see Arch Manning play well against a great team, which could be Saturday. And then I'll change my thoughts on that. So, but I still have the same 6, and it's Texas, Southern Cal, Ohio State, Tennessee, Georgia, and I'm adding Alabama to the mix. Those are my 6 that, as of this day, I believe can win a national championship. Would you include anybody else among the contenders?
So you said Texas, USC, Ohio State, Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama.
Yes.
I can't really refute anything you're saying on that. I can't debate you. I think you have a very good point. I know people are going to say, Miami because they blew out Florida. Cam Ward does lead my Heisman race, but blowing out Florida doesn't mean anything anymore. So I'm kind of with you.
If I did best chance to make the college football playoff, I'd probably go with Miami because of that ACC schedule. But to actually win the whole thing.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And also, Ohio State, as you guys noticed, is not in my top 10 yet because they haven't played anybody. My top 10, as you know, Dave, is not based on who I think the 10 best teams are. It's based on your resume.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, too, about Miami. The other thing that's going to hurt them is, they just play in that Hard Rock Casino, which is like 45 minutes from campus. So the College Football Selection Committee, College Football Playoff Selection Committee is going to weigh that when they give out those home games. Miami ain't going to get one.
Well, Miami is going to get the automatic bid because they're going to win the ACC. And so they're going to get a first-round bye.
Well, that's pure junk.
The first-round bye is just go to the top 4 conference champions. This is the flaw. This is why I keep telling you, Dave, you'd rather be the 5 seed than the 1 seed. By any reasonable definition.
Let's discuss that tomorrow. I thank everyone for joining the show. It's always presented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Other attorneys say they'll go to trial. They won't. banksandjones.com. Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. banksandjones.com.